What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Cucco Attack episode 16. I am your host, Chad Hembrock. With me, as always,
Patrick Hughes here.
So we've got some news from this past week. Today is August 13th, 2020. So this will...
As of... We're recording.
Yeah, so we're recording that today. Should probably start with that. But yeah, so let's get into a few things we've got. Got some things to talk about over the last few weeks.
We definitely have a lot of different game showcases.
A lot of different showcases that came out.
Not that it's all games we care about.
Yeah,
but
honestly, not much I personally care about, but, you know, what's the point of a podcast, right? Give your opinion that nobody cares about. So let's start it off, as always, with what we've been playing. So you go ahead and start, Patrick. Yeah,
I'll
you start.
Okay.
You start.
Okay.
You've got more on the table.
I do have a few more games, yeah. Well, recently, if you've been watching our group streams for Summertime Slam, I just finished Wind Waker, which was a lot of fun replaying through that game. So if you missed it, you can check it out. But yeah, it reminds me of why that's still one of my favorite games of all time. I just adore that entire world that they crafted. And then Hearthstone, I've kind of getting a little bit more into again recently, just because they have a new expansion that just came out.
You rocked that guy last night when you.
Yeah, you were watching. I was playing the Tavern Ball, to be fair, so those games are usually more crazy. But yeah, I definitely own that guy.
Yeah, I know nothing about that game, but just watching you smack that guy and destroy everything he threw at you was pretty awesome.
Yeah. But new seasons are always a lot of fun because just all these new cards and people discovering all these new kind of combos and just breaking the game in a sense. There's this one card that I can definitely anticipate will get nerfed or changed in some manner, but it's a 0-cost mana, so it's a free card that gives you an instant 2 mana, but then the next turn you're overloaded for 2. So you lose 2 mana the next turn. But the shenanigans that you can pull with that card is just insane, because you can just all of a sudden unleash some insane combo and you have an unstoppable board that someone can't stop. So it's the penalty next turn, whatever, try and stop me now. So yeah, that's definitely gonna get nerfed. But yeah, just to quickly touch on what's new in the expansion, probably the two more interesting new aspects are there are dual class cards, which means there are cards that can be used by 2 different classes within the game, which is pretty cool. And there's a new mechanic called Spell Burst, which is kind of like a delayed battle cry effect. Basically, you lay out your minion onto the board, and then it has a bonus thing that it does only after you play a spell. So you can kind of set up a delayed combo in a sense, which is kind of fun. But yeah, that's been pretty fun. And then I recently got into this new popular game that you'll probably see many streamers playing right now called Fall Guys. We kind of mentioned it on a previous episode, but I'm not sure if I love or hate this game. It's some combination of the two. Just the absurdity of these wobbly little crash dummies running around with 60 other people and just bumping into each other. You can't help but love that, but
extremely frustrating.
Yeah,
you broke up a little bit during that, but I think it's okay. I don't think you had much. You were just being excited, so I think you're good.
Yeah. Yeah. Just as the it is so satisfying when you win. Was basically all I was saying. When you do manage to pull through. But yeah, there are really positive elements about it. The art style is just so goofy and charming. The music's actually pretty good too. It kind of gives me Splatoon vibes, which is actually pretty cool. But yeah, I think this game will kind of live and die based off how they kind of maintain it. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. But for now, I'm having fun.
Cool.
Yeah. And then the last game I'll mention real quick, which will kind of segue into what you've been playing, is I finished Bug Fables a while back, which is that kind of very Paper Mario-esque style game. And I enjoyed it for the most part. The final boss did kind of leave a little sour note for me because it just all of a sudden like ramped up the difficulty out of nowhere. So that was kind of annoying. So I had to take the hard badge off, which was like fine for the whole game up to that final boss, just so I could beat it and be done with it. But I don't know. Watching you replay Paper Mario, which you're about to talk about, reminds me of like how many things Paper Mario does right, what really makes it stand out. So it's not that Bug Fables is a bad game. It does an admirable job, but it doesn't quite hold the candle to Paper Mario. So I'll put it a hold there.
That's cool. Yeah, I've heard good things about Bug Fables. So it's definitely something I've heard of.
Definitely a solid
people are really enjoying. So
it will satisfy the itch at least, but it does have its own faults. I think mainly it doesn't have that kind of satisfying feeling of progression that Paper Mario has. Like your characters don't feel like they're getting as strong as like you do in a Paper Mario game. So
cool. Yeah. So I guess I'll just start talking then about Paper Mario. It's all good. I never played the original Paper Mario. The only Paper Mario game I've ever played was Super Paper Mario on the Wii, which just kind of came out at a perfect time in my life. I had like a retail job and I was in college and I had a bunch of free time. So I just got it the day it came out and I continued. I think it was either 30 or 40 hours is what I played it for. I can't remember exactly, and my save file is way gone by now.
It's a pretty long game.
I was shocked that I enjoyed it because I don't know. I saw the box there and was like, you know what? I've heard of these games. I never played them. I thought they're RPG. Grabbed them, and I grabbed it.
For you, that was
it
probably
the
was
best honestly. Like I loved that game. But with that being said, I couldn't tell you a thing about it today. I couldn't tell you one thing because it's just I haven't touched it since 2006. I guess is that when it came out? 2006, I believe. It's either 6 or 7 because it was one of the first titles on Wii. It was like one of the first Wii games that came out, first party. It was very early.
I don't know. I think it was a few years after.
Yeah, you can go ahead and check that, but I'm almost positive it was like the year it came out, or like 2007.
I want to say 2008 actually. Let's see. Drum roll. 2007.
I just remember because I got my Wii around the same time I got my first flat screen TV, and that was my first year that I went to school, and that's why it all just kind of adds up. I remember that. So, but anyway, with that being said, not to drag that on, I just don't remember anything about the game. It's been 13 years since I've played it because I played it nonstop and then forgot. But I remember like the next few games that came out, hearing people didn't like them, but then the same people that didn't like those games didn't like Super Paper Mario. So I was like, well, that one's great, and then everyone loved Thousand Year Door, which I have on GameCube. I've never played it. I just picked up a copy of it when I was like looking for like all first party Nintendo games to collect. So I made sure to get a copy of that, especially a copy that didn't have the bestseller sticker on the front of it. So that was a big deal find for me as far as a collector. I
mean, considering you can only find it on GameCube, like that is an important game.
Yeah, especially now. I mean, you're looking. It's like a $90 game for like a disc. It's pretty crazy. Like, and the complete versions right now are selling for like $140. It's pretty nuts. eBay and COVID and everything right now is insane. But so with that being said, the roots come from Super Mario RPG on Super Nintendo, which I did not like at all as a kid. Renting it and taking it back the next day just because I just didn't want to play an RPG that was like that. So I completely skipped the N64 one. I never owned an N64 when it was like in its heyday. I didn't own an N64 until 2002. So I already had a GameCube and everything. I just never had a 64. I always played my friends, and then I ended up buying my own then so I could revisit Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. So, needless to say, never played Paper Mario. 64. Patrick convinced me to finally sit down and play it. So fired it up on my N64, and I'm extremely happy I did. I really, really enjoyed the game.
I could tell you're like sold near the beginning of the game when that Goomba was like so frustrated at his broken gate, and he was just like, nobody mentioned the word gate to me anymore.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I've always known like the dialogue to be fantastic throughout the Paper Mario games, but it was just something that I just for whatever reason I've never been a big RPG guy, so it just always kind of turned me away. With that said, it's very obvious throughout the episodes we've done that I love Chrono Trigger, which is like one of the greatest RPGs of all time, and a very long game. I beat as a kid, but I just, for whatever reason, other RPGs don't do it for me. But playing Paper Mario was great. I think it had a perfect mixture of adventure, exploration, some platforming elements with using your different characters, and then like you were talking about with Bug Fables, not leveling up and progressing, it definitely had that. I mean, from your experience points, going from, like you said, you don't feel like you get stronger throughout the game. Mario starts with like 1 point attack at the beginning of the game, and by the end I'm doing like 12 damage or something like that, so I mean, you think about it's not
taking down like a tenth of the boss's
and then like
health.
not getting experience points when I'm killing bosses that were like taking me 5-10 minutes to beat earlier. And I mean, so there's definitely that sense of progression where you feel like you're unstoppable. And the game is very easy. The only time I died was the very first boss battle against the Koopa Bros. I died on that time, and I was a little frustrated by it, but it was just it was me rushing and not really paying attention to what I had to do, and just attacking before healing and stuff like that. I tend to play games very impatiently, especially games like that. So, but with that said, I didn't really have a challenge. I should have streamed it. I always say that, because I did stream it. I just streamed it to Patrick on Discord. so he watched me play. He watched almost the entire playthrough. I think there was maybe one day that he was out of town and didn't see it. So,
I missed like chapter 2. With
that was like the only thing you missed from that. But no, I'm really glad I played it. I really enjoyed it. I definitely want to play Thousand Year Door now. I don't know when I will do that, because I just played 2 pretty extensive RPGs. You
can take a break, but maybe you should stream that one once you're ready. I bet people
because I just did Earthbound, which is probably like 25-30 hours, and then I just did, which you also watched almost all of that.
I did watch a lot of that
on Discord only, so definitely something I should have just done on YouTube. But and then now Paper Mario, so I'm kind of like, I should play something different, but at the same time, as much as I've always said RPGs are not my favorite games, I've been enjoying the hell out of them, and I think a big part of that is that like I have to think about what to do, but at the same time I don't have to be fast about it. I can just kind of chill, laid back in the chair. If you're on video right now, you can see me just lean back. But I just lean back in the chair and play. I don't have to like get all tensed up and get into the screen like some crazy battles happening where I need to have like perfect reflexes and stuff. So it's kind of nice to get away from that a little bit, honestly. Especially since I haven't been playing too many games lately. So, but with that said, Paper Mario was awesome. If you haven't played Paper Mario 64, play it. It was a lot of fun. It's not that challenging, but it's still fun. The side quests, I did a lot of the side quests in the game.
You actually did a lot.
Yeah, there's side quests with like doing favors for the old Koopa guy. Koops, or whatever his name was. So that was cool. I enjoyed doing that because it's essentially a fetch quest, and I'm always a sucker for those. Because then it kind of turned into like a trade quest as well at one point, and I was like, it was kind of annoying just because I wanted to be done with the game, but at the same time, like it was cool, it was fun. is definitely fun. But yeah, just the exploration, the way to unlock the shortcuts. Once you unlock the shortcuts between levels, it's so much like faster and so much better to travel between towns and everything. I like I said, I pretty much went to every screen that I could find. I'm sure I missed a few secrets here and there, and I obviously missed a bunch of like the hidden star shards or star sprites.
Oh yeah. That's the one thing in that game. They did go a little bit obnoxious with like how many star pieces were hidden everywhere.
I roughly did about 60 or like 60% of the game overall as far as like star pieces and stuff. But I think a lot of that had to do with I forgot to equip the badge that helps you find the star pieces in the panels.
Yeah, well, they actually don't give you that badge until like
it was chapter 3, I think.
And so like the first 3 chapters you've gone through, and you probably missed so many star pieces you just never knew existed.
For sure. And the fact that they're literally like in the ground, and you're only gonna find them by dumb luck or you have the badge. Like, but regardless, great game. I really enjoyed it. So play it if you haven't. So with that said,
Chad recommends.
I do. It was good. I really enjoyed it. So trying to get away from the RPG game. I'll talk about the one I started to play last that I tried to make my next game, just so me and Patrick can have a little back and forth on that. But I played a little Tetris 99 again. Haven't played that in a while. And I actually fired up the SNES app on Switch and was playing Donkey Kong Country for the first time in probably 20 years. And it's fun. It's a fun game. I totally forgot where like all the secrets are. I'm only on the second world, which is still like 20% of the game done already, which I did in like less than an hour. So yeah, it's funny because I remember it being super long as a kid, and I think it's just because as a kid I was always stuck on this damn minecart, so it felt like forever.
Because it's hard.
Yeah, it was tough, and even now, like I died probably 15-20 times on the minecart level, and I was like, come on, why am I dying? Like I don't know, I haven't played that game forever, so it felt weird. I'm playing through a capture card, and
you're not used to those
monkey
physics.
Really strange, but I did enjoy playing that. I haven't played that in a long time. Played the little Donkey Kong arcade. Always try to get back into that. It wasn't doing too hot though. And finally, the last thing, I actually started this before those other games, but another game Patrick told me to play was, because I was telling him I kind of wanted to play Zelda again, play Breath of the Wild. He told me to play Okami. So I did, and I've been looking forward to play it. Patrick actually gave me a copy of Okami for the Wii, like 4 years ago, and wanted me to play this. And I never touched it. I put it on my shelf. I wanted to play it, just never did. So it came out on Switch. I bought it like the week it came out. It was like, I think I got it for $15. It was on sale, and I bought it. That's when I bought it. And I just never played it. So I was like, you know what? It'll be good to get into a good adventure game, a Zelda-esque game, if you will. So, because that's what I've always heard about it. It's.
IGN said it was like their game of the year over Twilight Princess the same year that came out. So that's any.
So I played it, and and I went in with the expectation. I did start playing it a couple of years, like maybe a year or two ago. And like whenever I bought it, I loaded it up once, but I actually had my Switch with me at a car dealership waiting for my car, and started getting the intro, and it was just text, and I was like, I can't sit here and concentrate in this place and try to play this game, so I turned it off. But I knew the expectation of the game, super long intro, kind of like this podcast. But super long intro, text heavy, whatever. And I was fine with that. I was like, okay, that's fine. I can go through this. What annoyed me was you could skip the entire story. That's fine. But as a person that's never played the game before, I didn't want to skip it. So I didn't want to hold start and skip the whole thing. So I just kept tapping A. However, tapping A or B during the intro does not speed up the text. So the text just crawls along at one letter at a time, and it's for me, like I said earlier, I'm very impatient when it comes to this kind of games. So I got really irritated by that. So then the game started, and it felt weird to me because the motion, just like the way the wolf runs and controls, it felt weird. But what made it worse was the camera. So by default, the camera's inverted, and it's terrible. Like, I hate it. I cannot do it. And I also don't like the fact that the camera is like right over your shoulder. It's super close, in my opinion. Like 3/4 view, very close. I don't like it. But if you tap L, it zooms out, and I like that eagle eye view. It looked great. And I could see what was going on. The joystick or the camera control being inverted was still annoying to me. However, the next night I did see in the options, which I looked at a bunch of times the first night, didn't see it, and it's clear as day that you can invert the camera controls. So I fixed that, and the game felt 100 times better.
Yes.
100 times better running around like that. But I still like the zoomed out view better. And I don't like how anytime you go near somebody or like see an object, the camera will auto lock back down to the 3/4 camera view, like third person, whatever view. That's like super close. So, cause it just throws me off, because then I have to hit L again, and I can only hit L if I'm like away from a tall object or something. And it's just frustrating to me. So, I played it for about an hour. I got through the first couple parts. I got my first brush powers, the rejuvenate and restore. Was it rejuvenate or restore? I think it was rejuvenate.
Yeah, rejuvenate, slash, and
the power slash, and that was the only ones I got. It was just those two. So I got that, and I got to a save point, and I stopped playing. I also got all the turnips from the lady in the garden. Stole all of her turnips.
So he is still very much in the intro, folks.
So I started to play it, and I don't know if it's just because I was streaming with Patrick and just being very impatient, but the other day I was just like, I can't play this game. I can't do it. Like, it's very frustrating to me.
Telling me one thing after the other. I don't like this. I don't like this.
Yeah, so I should go back and give it another try, but I don't know if I will. I really don't.
What's funny is him saying all this stuff made me want to start playing it. So I pulled out my Switch copy that I owned and started playing it. So I will admit that the camera feels 100 times better with inverted.
Yeah.
Like, and the initial controls that it has are so bad, but once you invert it, it feels much better.
Yeah, it does, for sure. It's still slow, though. It's still very slow.
It's still very slow to churn. I do feel like it's a little sluggish. I don't mind as much the zoom, though. I think it feels just fine, like how it's zoomed over the character, but it is sluggish to like rotate the camera. That is a little annoying.
Yeah.
But game is so good. Like, I'm telling you, you gotta at least get to like through the first dungeon to get a feel of like what the whole game is.
Yeah, I think one of my other complaints too is I was telling you is like, at least at this point, I did mention how like every item you hit, it has to like stop and tell you about it, and then you said, yeah, that's a Zelda when you get a Rupa, and I'm like, yeah, it is. You're right. I'll give you that. But then like the way the like enemy fights are, like it turns into like a cutscene, and then you're like fighting them, and it's like it feels like, to me, it feels like Bayonetta. Because you'll have this little fight scene where like a bunch of things happen, and once you kill them, you get a little progress screen that shows you what your spoils were, or what your score was, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, all right, I don't need an arcadey feel in a game that's like a massive.
It basically sets up a little arena for you to fight.
Yeah,
enemies, and then it takes you back to the overworld.
Which is pretty much how Bayonetta is, except for your lock when your arena is just locked into that room, that little area. So I just thought it was kind of weird, and I just wasn't expecting that. So,
just so you're aware, like pauses or shows like an enemy.
If it's like a new enemy or something?
If it's a new type of enemy,
Okay.
It shows a little intro animation if it's a new type of enemy. Once you've met that enemy, it kind of just loads the battle quicker.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
It won't take up as much time as you know the enemies. So.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I should give it another fair shot at least. I mean, I'm an hour in. I'm at least past. I'm at least playable now. I'm not just reading text for 40 minutes. So. Because that was literally like, I was like, oh my God, hurry up. And but what's weird is that there's some spots where you can hit B and B will auto zoom the text or speed it up.
I think it's only for like important story moments that it dictates the pace, which is, I know, weird.
I just don't like that because it's like, let me figure it out. I mean, granted, with that being said, how many times in Paper Mario did I have to rewind my text to reread it?
You're like, wait,
what did he say? And I had to go back. Where's it supposed to go? But still, I mean, I like playing games like that. I'm just too ADD to sit there and read a story the whole time. But I don't know, maybe I'll go back to it, but it feels weird to me. And I guess I think I went into it expecting like Breath of the Wild, even though I know it's like a 12-year-old game.
Oh, no.
I think it's just because because of that. It's because I went into it expecting like a Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Breath of the Wild. Like
it definitely has its own style and sensibilities to it, but it is a very unique and fun experience if you can get past that kind of initial hump for being so different.
Yeah. So I'll give it a fair shot. Probably again, but I don't know. That's what I've been playing. That's pretty much the last thing I played. Outside of video games, the NHL playoffs have started, so that's taking up a lot of my time now too. However, most of the games are in the middle of the afternoon, so it's just kind of on in the background while I'm doing other stuff that I can't.
Unless it's like that one playoff game that went from like 3 to 9 p.m.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Tampa won that game, and then they lost tonight. So that made me happy. So, but anyway, that's about all I've got going on. So if you want, we can take a quick pause here before we get into the next beef of the podcast.
Into the plethora of game announcements of which we will have variance excitement for.
All right, we will be right back. We are back. There might be some audio issues in the first part of this podcast with
I'm sure we can edit it out.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I was really loud. It's my fault. My microphone fell off my desk and I didn't adjust it properly. So I've kind of been breathing into it and talking on top of it all episodes so far. So my apologies if that's not edited out. So I took it away. It's a little further away now. So as I scoot closer to it. So we'll get into some news that came out. There was an Animal Crossing update, as usual. That's my job. It's not mine. So Patrick, take it away.
So Animal Crossing, the August update. It's not too much, not as big as I think as the July update, but we got fireworks now every Sunday. There's a fireworks festival, so you can like submit your own designs to see fireworks go into the sky, or just have the normal fireworks. They actually have a lot of fireworks, which is kind of cool. Sparkly ones and the like Twizzlers and the just all kinds of variations. So it's actually fun to watch. And they added Dreams, which is basically a way to visit other people's islands without actually visiting them online. So if you get their code, you can visit all sorts of islands without actually having to have that person be online, which is kind of cool. And probably the biggest part of this update was backup saves. So if you have Switch Online, your island can now be backed up in case you lose your Switch or it gets damaged or anything like that. Get your new Switch, download your game and island back, and you're good to go.
Yeah, that's a huge, like, necessary, like, that needs to be there.
It's definitely something they said they were working on from day one, and so that's like halfway there now, at least for, they still need to figure out how to transfer islands, like, especially if they're ever to release a new Switch model. I'm sure they're working on that, so it's coming, I'm sure. But backup saves is at least here, so good job, Nintendo.
Yeah, that's cool. But you have to pay for it. Yeah. Hey, it's there. The storage isn't free. So, and it's so cheap. But that's for another argument and discussion.
We could turn down to a whole other podcast, but we have too much other stuff to talk about.
So I guess that covers that. The next thing we had was a Ubisoft presentation. That was. Yeah,
we're just gonna go from showcase to showcase here. I think I did them in order of which ones came.
Okay.
Like.
So the Ubisoft one, that one was on like a Saturday afternoon, wasn't it?
I think it was on a weekend.
Yeah, I remember
something.
Being like a Saturday or Sunday, because I remember we were watching it and talking on Discord while I was playing.
Yeah, I remember you had to go somewhere at the end.
I missed the very end of it.
Yeah, but there honestly wasn't that much. How do I put this? Nothing really surprised me about that presentation of what they showed. The main games that they showed were Watchdogs Legion, which is that like hacking GTA whatever game.
I've never played those games.
Never played any of them.
I think the first
myself.
one I remember seeing it and it looked interesting to me, but I just never played it for whatever reason.
Yeah. And then they showed Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is the next Assassin's Creed with Vikings. Yeah. Which I will say surprises me, like, well, it doesn't surprise me, it just confuses me how an assassin can be stealthy and like bloodthirsty, like Viking just pillaging an entire village. It just seems such a contradiction.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that when we watched this. Yeah.
It just seems like misbranding to me. Like, it seems like it could be a fine Viking game. I don't see why Assassin's Creed has to be slapped onto it.
Because it'll sell.
Exactly.
That's why. People.
And then they ended their presentation with just like a cinematic trailer of Far Cry 6, which has what's his name? The Pollo Man from Breaking Bad.
Gus?
Yeah. Gus, yeah. So, I mean, he's still a good actor, but it didn't really tell us anything about the game, although it will probably be what you expect of a Far Cry game.
I never played Far Cry. I have one or two of them in Steam, and I was going to play multiplayer with my friend, and we couldn't get it to work. And that was annoying because I actually bought it. Like, I spent like $20 on it or $10 on it, whatever it was. It wasn't that expensive, but like I bought it. It was an older version. I think it was like Far Cry 3 maybe. And this was like last year. He's like, "You have Far Cry?" And I was like, "I'll pick it up. It's cheap." So I grabbed it and we went to play multiplayer and it would not work. It just would not connect. And that was really annoying because, like, you know, it was a waste of money because then I never played it. After that. So I've always heard of the game, and you know, it seems to have a pretty decent following. I've just never been into it at all.
Yes, I've never got into it either. Like, I'm sure
honestly, disclaimer,
gunplay and animation looks nice, but it just nothing about it like seems interesting to me. I don't know.
Full disclaimer, there's probably a lot of games in this list we're about to talk about that I have almost zero interest in and never played the series.
So we might go through this list pretty quickly, but
so
I feel like it's at least worth mentioning.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about it. So the one that
you'll at least see like a very brief clip of each game if you watch the YouTube version before we like move on quickly on to the next game.
So the next thing we have here is the Nintendo Direct Mini. And this me and Patrick have been waiting for a Nintendo Direct for so long because, you know, we finally got Paper Mario Origami King came out, and then, you know, after that, we don't know what's coming out. We have no idea what's coming out from Nintendo. So, you know, there's so much stuff in the queue, at least that we're aware of. We have Bayonetta 3 was probably the oldest thing that's been announced. That was announced like during the Game Awards, the first year the Switch was out. We had Bayonetta 3 logo shown, and never heard a thing about it after that. We have Metroid Prime 4, which we haven't heard a thing about other than it got rebooted like a year ago by Retro. And then we have the Breath of the Wild 2 sequel. That's like the three big things that Nintendo has mentioned that we have no news on. So,
to be fair, when they announced this, they said it was going to be publisher or third-party focused.
Yeah, so they didn't say that at first. I don't think they said that at first. They said they had a follow-up tweet after it that said it would focus on third parties, I thought. Or maybe that was the direct before this one. I can't remember.
I think you're thinking of the one, the
Bakugan one?
Bakugan.
Maybe that's what it was. I don't know.
I think they learned their lesson from that and tried to like clarify the text a little more.
I don't know, things have been so weird.
But even then, like Bayonetta 3 would have qualified. I was thinking maybe Silksong or No More Heroes
Silksong,
3.
Dude.
There was a lot of games.
Silksong, we haven't heard a thing. There's Sports Story as well. That like that's
Sports Story we were hoping for.
There's a bunch of stuff that like we were like, all right, mini direct third party. What does that mean? You know, what can we do?
I'm like, all right, there's a lot of stuff. Let's go. I'm excited. And then the last mini direct they had was back in March, I believe, after Animal Crossing, where we kind of also had kind of an unknown window. That ended up being like a 20-minute mini direct with, even though it wasn't like the most exciting, it still had some decent game announcements with like Xenoblade.
They did a Pokemon DLC in that too.
The Clubhouse games, they had Pokemon DLC. They had that like Good Jobs indie game. They had like a lot of
mixture of stuff,
variety. I think they had like 20 games that they showed in that.
So this one comes out, and like right before it starts, you start seeing the leakers come out. Like it's like 8 minutes long. That's what people are saying. It's like, well, crap, what the hell are they going to show in 8 minutes? so let's just get into it, because like. And again, a lot of people are probably excited with the final announcement, but I was not. But anyway, we'll get into it.
They showed
4 games total. It opened up with Cadence of Hyrule DLC, which was okay. That's fine. Like Cadence of Hyrule was pretty big deal, considering it was
fun.
It was a Zelda license being handed out.
Granted, it was last year. But
and
still.
Like I wanted to get it. I played the demo. And I bought the first Crypt of the Necrodancer.
The original.
It's cool, but it's different. Like I suck at it. Like jumping around, everything.
Yeah, the gameplay is definitely super challenging.
I think the Cadence of Hyrule demo was just awesome because the music, like the Zelda music being remixed, is amazing. They just did a really good job with that. I still want to pick it up at some point just because it is Zelda themed, and that'll kind of make me push through it probably. So, but so they announced that, but it comes out in October, I think is what it was. So that's how they.
I think like the first part of comes out September or October, and then the rest comes out the rest of the year.
And it was like additional music, and then there was like.
It was costumes, music,
a story
and then original
based off
story.
of Skull Kid from Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
So there was some good. They opened with that, and it's like, all right, cool. They're opening with a Nintendo property in a third-party game, which is kind of what we were hoping we were going to get more of, or maybe like a Metroid offshoot, because they teased Metroid in the Paper Mario trailer, so it's kind of like everyone's looking into that. I forgot what was the second game they showed.
Then they went with that Rogue Company, which no one cares about.
So here's the thing, like Rogue Company to me, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, this looks like Counter-Strike. And it did. I mean, it looked very similar to Counter-Strike, but then like I heard, like, it wasn't interested at all. I was like, all right, another team shooter thing. But then I heard it's Hi-Rez that did it, which is the creator Paladins.
We were playing a
lot of Paladins. Yeah. And speaking of, you were talking earlier about Hearthstone having a new season. Paladins has a new season now, which you mentioned to me. And we haven't been in that in a while, so we should give it another try, maybe this weekend or something. But yeah. So anyway, that Rogue Company game, when I heard it was from Hi-Rez, I was like, oh, maybe, but I'm not.
Yeah, it just looks, I don't know, so generic to me. There's nothing.
That's kind of how I feel about Paladins, though, too. But then we played it and had a lot of fun. But I think it's one of those things that if I played with you guys, I think we'd have fun playing it
if we gave it a chance, maybe.
But again, we have to look into.
Regardless,
stuff.
This was a game that they showed in the previous Nintendo Direct, and they're just kind of showing the same thing again. So nothing. So that
was like the first 2 minutes of this 8-minute Direct, and then the next 5 minutes of this Direct.
Wait,
no,
I know,
I'm getting there. That's
okay.
The next 5 minutes they showed of this Direct was like a WWE Battlegrounds trailer.
No, that was not 5 minutes.
It was long enough. It felt like 5 minutes for an 8-minute Direct. It felt like majority of the Direct because it was literally wrestlers playing the video game.
Any amount was too long.
It was a game that everyone already knew about. It was a game that I think it was already out, or it came out that day. So it was kind of like, why? Why are they putting this? Why did they make a Direct for this? That's what I'm getting at for this entire Direct. Like, for 8 minutes, everything.
So far, none of those have really justified the need for a Direct. Other than maybe the DLC for Cadence might have been a nice padding.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I think. I feel like everything they showed was filler, including the final game they showed, which was Shin Megami Tensei 3 Remastered, which...
And then a slight tease of the new Shin Megami Tensei.
So, I mean, personally, yes, I don't care about those games, and that's fine. Like, it's not for me. I'm not upset about that. But that's a super niche game. From like the only people I know personally that were like, oh man, this is awesome, it's coming out, are like a couple of my friends that ran the video game store that I used to go to all the time, that are like huge into like JRPGs and stuff like that. And like, because when I told them, I was like, they shouldn't have made a Direct for this. They should have just made it a trailer, just announce trailer, launch it. Because it still would have been a surprise, and I think it wouldn't have got the backlash that it did if they would have just released all these things. Like, they could have just dropped a Twitter thing that says, Cadence of Hyrule DLC is coming soon, drop the trailer, and it's done. And then they could have done the same thing with the Shin Megami Tensei. And I feel like the reaction would have been bigger, because you would have had people like, oh my god, this is awesome, without all the negativity from the Direct being, it's not that game, it has a following that's great. I'm glad that people who enjoy the game got the announcement. But I just think when you package it as a Direct, you're giving the expectation to your fans
it needs more.
There's going to be a little bit of something for everybody. Even if it's a mini, there's going to be something more for that Nintendo casual fan. And I don't think...
Especially based off the expectations of the last one that they had.
Again, like, it is what it is. I mean, I really just laughed at it at that point. It's like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm not going to get upset. It's not going to ruin my day. But it was just like, we're literally waiting and waiting and waiting for more news. And, still waiting. I mean, that was the last... Well, it's not the last thing we heard. We can actually we can probably just cover that now, too, I guess. But
you just want to jump
into that part. So we'll do that in a second. But, like, yeah, we're just waiting. And, like, we understand that there's, COVID-19 is going on, everything's shut down, but like that's not stopping other companies from doing, announcements still, and at least showing off what they have. And, I mean, obviously Nintendo just works differently, and we've always known that. But it just seems crazy that they have nothing announced for, they haven't announced anything since this little mini direct, and the last major direct they had was like almost a year ago. So it's just kind of weird that, you know, and there was the rumors of like, you know, or not even a rumor, like before E3 was canceled, they had a presentation ready. So it's like all this little stuff that's coming out now.
Like, honestly, I just want to see an update. I don't need a date per se. Like,
yeah, that's how I feel. I just want to know.
Put a date and put a little asterisk next to it, like maybe delayed, and be like, I get it.
Yeah, like I feel like that's. Who knows though? Because people are so weird, and investors get all.
Yeah,
weird
be like,
about that
we'd like
stuff.
to aim for this date, but asterisk, you know, probably will get delayed.
Yeah, but like it would just be nice to see what's in the timeline. Like,
exactly.
I didn't stop them from announcing Breath of the Wild for like 7 years. You know what I mean? Coming soon. Okay, when? 2013. Now 2015. Came out in 2017. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
And honestly, I loved every second of that development updates.
Yeah, at least we got updates.
Just watching
like
those I've probably said this before, but watching those trailers just become more and more epic with each showing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like, so I mean it's just interesting, and especially like I think it was last E3, so just over a year ago was when we got the announcement that they were making the Breath of the Wild 2 sequel that we were joking about before E3 started. You were like, what if they show the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer? I'm like, there's no way they're showing Breath of the Wild 2. And then they showed it. So it's like, all right, cool. Not that I would expect that game to be out anytime near where they say it's going to be, because that's not how Zelda games work.
Before all this happened this year, I had hopes that it would come out this holiday.
Yeah, and it would make sense.
I do not
it would have made sense.
those same hopes now,
it would have made sense going against two brand new console launches, and you know that would be like their killer app for the holiday that would have maybe competed. Or they don't do it at all because they don't want to compete. Not that they ever really have, but yeah. So that was it. They did show a different game in Japan. They showed like
multiple different games. I only wrote one down just.
There were some Super Famicom games they showed, like some Super Famicom remake, like was it like a horse racing game or like a mahjong game or something. I remember like a couple puzzle things they showed, and
yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
And then they showed this. What was this? I forgot what it was. It was the girl fighting everybody through the woods game.
That kind of looked like Bionic Commando.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Bionic Commando.
So that game is called Sakuna of Rice and Ruin. And it looked like very interesting, just very polished and kind of different. Like half of it was like Bionic Commando, like attacking enemies, like going through environments, while the other half was like farming, like Harvest Moon style, planting rice and
it was
stuff.
it definitely was interesting. I mean, again, I saw the Japanese trailer. I never went back and looked for anything, but I think it is coming out in both. They just only showed it on the Japanese direct. So it was kind of weird why we got this 8-minute direct especially with like, you know, Shin Megami Tensei being like the big
that was the like half of the direct, just that one Shin Megami.
And then it's just weird. But so after that we knew nothing for Nintendo until last week. They announced Pikmin 3 Deluxe is coming to the Switch. So that includes all the DLC, a co-op story mode, and then some new hats,
a new side story as well with Olimar and Louis.
That's right. Yeah. So I've never played Pikmin. I actually have the third one that you so gratefully gave me a download code for.
Oh, that's right, because the Club Nintendo, and I already owned it, so I was like, here, you take it.
And then I just never got around to playing it as usual. So maybe I'll play it. I don't know. We'll see.
It's fun. Yeah. It's a great, like, if you've never played a Pikmin game, I kind of feel like that's the best place to start with Pikmin 3, just because it feels like the best balance of the first two games combined.
Yeah. Well, I definitely am not going to buy it on the Switch because, you know, I never played it.
Since
I already have it.
Yeah.
There's really no point.
That makes sense.
So,
although I am somewhat tempted by the co-op mode.
Yeah.
If we could play that together, that'd be fun.
Yeah, that's true.
But not for $60, I don't think.
So the thing that's kind of crazy about it too is so this rubbed people the wrong way in a lot of things, because the day they announced it was the day they removed it from the Wii U eShop for $20. So that's and I agree, it is kind of like, I mean, it's pretty bad because like.
Well, it doesn't make sense to me in the sense that like
12 million.
Why would you remove it when it's your own money that you're like removing profits from? People are going to buy the game from you.
Yeah,
you're just taking away revenue from yourself.
The thing that's like I get them taking it away because like they're going to sell it for $60 now, so they're going to take away the $20 version on the eShop. But
I think it was still like $60.
No,
bucks
it was $20 on the Wii U.
Oh, was it?
It was $20 on the Wii U. That's why they did it.
Well, then that makes sense.
But what's dumb about it though? What's really dumb is like 12 million people bought the Wii U, and I guarantee you, out of those 12 million, there's probably a very, very, very small percentage of them that still use their Wii U. You know what I mean? Like,
if those people have not bought Pikmin 3 on the Wii U after 5 years,
they're not going to.
Why now?
Yeah. So like in that argument, I get it. It's like, all right, they removed it. You're never going to buy it anyway. But at the same time, it's like, Nintendo, why take it down? Like, who's going to buy it?
Yeah.
And if somebody buys it, good. You're still getting $20 because if that one person,
you're getting money from a cheapskate who wouldn't pay full price anyways.
Yeah. So it's just weird. It just doesn't make sense to me to like take it down. But whatever. It did irritate a lot of people though for some reason. So
yeah, I'm sure that fire's died by now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the internet. That's tomorrow.
It's just reacting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's all we have, and that's coming out in October, like October 23rd,
yeah,
I think. So
that's all we know.
That's all we know of in 2 months. We have a 2-month window of nothing.
I do want to say one thing about Pikmin 3 Deluxe real quick, which I found interesting. I saw someone else point out. It could or could not mean anything, but the word deluxe in the logo is made with yellow flowers.
Ooh.
Now, the Pikmin logos have always been made of flowers based off the Pikmin that are available in that game, like what color tops they are. So, like, Pikmin 1 was the white flowers, and then Pikmin 2 had, I think, was it the yellow flowers? Or was it the pink flowers, I think, for Pikmin 2? And Pikmin 3 had the a different color type for the new Pikmin rock and flying ones. But this yellow flowers have never been seen before. So could that indicate a new Pikmin type?
I don't know.
To be in this Deluxe Edition? That'd be kind of fun. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. So that's all you.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
it might not be anything. Maybe it's them teasing a new Pikmin type for Pikmin 4, and people just have to pay money for this to fund this game. Miyamoto has been saying, "Oh, it's almost done for 5 years."
Yeah. Well, that was Hey Pikmin, right? Wasn't that the real?
Oh, don't say that, please. No.
I've never played a Pikmin game. It's just something that, for whatever reason, it never interested me.
All right, if you don't play Okami, go bust out your Wii U and play Pikmin 3.
Yeah, that's probably more of a stretch because then I have to plug in that damn gamepad. But I have to plug in the gamepad maybe, but then I gotta.
I will say, replaying Wind Waker on a Wii U, I did not enjoy how short the battery life of that Wii U gamepad was.
Yeah. Did you just
and having to constantly have it plugged in?
I'll never forget the first time that gamepad screwed me in a long game session. I was so mad. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I go back to it and play it. But
yeah. But that's all we know about Nintendo for now.
Yep, for now.
So,
maybe we'll spawn a direct from this talk.
We keep hoping.
There's always rumors of a direct every month, and
it's almost been a year now.
Yeah. So, all right. So
what do we got next? What did we leave off after Nintendo Direct Mini?
Yes.
I think it was another Day of the Devs, which is basically just a whole bunch of indie games. Honestly, the highlight of that I thought was the musical performance they had, which were a lot of fun. Actually, if you want to go back and check those musical performances, they were just fun.
I don't think I saw this one.
They did musical performances of Sayonara, Wild Hearts, Bugsnax theme, and then they ended with Pixel Junk Eden 2. So those are fun. I'll probably put links to them at the end of our YouTube version of this podcast. Okay. A lot of the indie games seem kind of hit or miss. They didn't really sell it to me, but I will say Overcooked All You Can Eat looks like a perfect version to own of Overcooked if you've never owned any of them, because it's going to contain the first game, the second game, all of the DLC between both games, and it can have online multiplayer, which will be awesome. So that's fun. And those games are great if you've never played them, so keep an eye on that. That's the best version of that you can possibly own.
Yeah, I've never played it before. I know we were gonna play it online a couple weeks ago, and then it was local
until
only.
We realized.
So after that, we had the Xbox Game Showcase for the Series X.
Yeah, this was going to be showing off all those first-party studios that Microsoft bought up. What are they?
I say I say Series X, but it was really more about Game Pass. Game Pass Ultimate, which is great. I think. I mean, Game Pass is obviously the replacement for Xbox Live.
I think that's what they're secretly trying to advertise here. Like, they could care less about how many people buy the Series X. It's like, great, you bought a beefed up, overpriced PC. Thank you.
Well,
now make sure to subscribe for Game Pass.
From what I've heard was that from what I've read and stuff online is the Xbox Live you can't buy anymore. Or something like that, or you can't buy a year subscription of it anymore, for whatever reason.
I'm not sure. I kind of heard that they're doing away with that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's what I heard, that you couldn't buy that anymore, or it's going away, and then
like they're going back to just free multiplayer. But
yeah, and that's awesome, I think, because it's kind of crappy to I get their server maintenance and all that stuff. I mean, you get what you pay for, whatever, but I never had a bad experience with Xbox Live, but the thing was, I just didn't play online enough to
think
benefit.
Since they're integrating Game Pass so much with PC now, which already has free
multiplayer
gaming because it's a PC, I think Xbox Live is becoming more and more irrelevant.
Yeah,
so
it makes sense because that's a big thing for PC gaming, and that's a big reason why I never played World of Warcraft because I refuse to pay for a multiplayer service. I don't like the idea of it, and I think that's because majority of my multiplayer experience has been on PC throughout the years, and I've never had to pay for that. And then Xbox, I never had it on the first Xbox, but I did have Xbox Live on my 360 for a couple months, and then I had it on the Xbox One when I was playing Destiny a lot. But even then, I was like, why am I paying for this? The minute I stopped playing Destiny, I let it expire because it was I'm not playing anything on here to benefit other than they did give you free games and stuff but I never played any of the free games I got, so it wasn't worth it for me to keep it renewed. So.
I forgot to mention, for the month of August, PlayStation Plus Fall Guys is free. That's the main reason I'm playing it.
I was actually going to ask you if it was a free game or not.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's cool. What's the retail of that if it's not free, or if you don't get it through Plus? Do you know?
I remember seeing it like $20 on Steam.
Okay.
So
I was just curious.
yeah, I imagine it's about that price elsewhere. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know. I think Game Pass is pretty awesome. Like, I did have the PC version of Game Pass for like $5 a month or whatever it was, and like, dude, I had so many games installed, and they were all like really good games too. Like I mean, AAA games that I'd never played that I was like really excited to play, and that included like, you know, the latest Forza with the Lego DLC and like all sorts of stuff. It had all of that, and it had the Ape Out game that we talked about playing for a while. It had like the Tomb Raider games that I never played. It had Worms. It had all sorts of stuff that like I was super interested in, but I just never played it. So I ended up canceling it, but I could easily see myself getting it again. Yeah. Especially it had the Halo Master Collection, which is cool, and
that's like the thing with like monthly subscriptions is you feel like if you're not playing it, you're wasting money. And it's this weird kind of like, well, I should be playing this because I'm paying for it, versus I bought it, I can play it when I want.
But I mean, well, with that being said though, like, you know, I played Paper Mario for like a week or two. Like, if I just, you know, so if I beat at least one game out of Game Pass, like, you know, if you beat one game a month, you know, if you have the time, you beat one game a month, it's totally worth the $5-6 a month. Like,
it's totally worth it.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely enough stuff on there for you to get. So if the Game Pass is the new Xbox Live, then I think that's awesome, because they're, you know, and the fact that they have the Game Pass Ultimate, which is a little more, but it lets you, if you have a console as well as a PC, and there's different games on each. A lot of them are cross-play games, or like, you know, like I said, Forza's on the Xbox and Forza's on the PC, so you can play them both. You know, it's worth it in that aspect if you know, do that. I personally will be skipping the Xbox Series X because my PC is essentially an Xbox Series X, and there's just no point.
Yeah. For
the only thing I can't play is it all depends on EA, and that's hockey. So if EA is not gonna release hockey, Microsoft's not getting my money for an Xbox, so EA can get $60 from me. It's not happening. Not this gen.
The very expensive game of hockey.
I'll get it for PS5 because I'm gonna get a PS5 because those games aren't on PC. So.
Depending on backwards compatibility,
that is true,
that's your one.
I have an entire library of PS4 games to play. So with all that said about the Xbox Game Pass, everything, they showed these games off. They opened. Yes. We talked way too long about that. They
tangent.
They opened the showcase with Halo Infinite, which everyone's been waiting for. That's a Halo fan, and you know, Halo is Microsoft's beloved series that brought the Xbox to life to make it what it is today. And the Halo Infinite trailer they showed was Halo. There's nothing else for me to say about it. Like, it looked like Halo. It looked like more Halo.
It did not leave any sort of impression on me other than exactly that looks like Halo. It kind of even looked like a little less than, it looked like original Halo. I think they were definitely going for like the spirit of that, but like I think it was almost struggling a little to keep up, like, because they were trying to go with an open world kind of exploration, but as a result it almost looked like the original Halo graphics,
like, in a sense. So I remember,
I don't really care about graphics per se, but it just looked like this was not the showcaser, I don't think.
I feel that the thing with Halo for me is, so I only played Halo I played Halo 1 through 3. I played the first 3. And like the first one, I know most people love it because of the multiplayer. Because it was essentially like that transition from everyone played GoldenEye to everybody played Halo. That was like the evolution of multiplayer gaming on console. And
having those LAN parties with like multiple TVs and Xboxes.
And that's something I missed. Like, and I think it's because I didn't live around my friends I grew up with when Halo came out. So when Xbox came out, I bought one with like one of my first paychecks I ever got in high school, because I worked in the electronics store at this place, and I was like, we had like layaway, and I put an Xbox and a GameCube on layaway, and I bought it in like a month with like my paychecks. Just put all my money to those. That's the only reason I worked. It was awesome. I was so happy when I brought this home. Fired up my Xbox, and I played the first Halo. I beat it in like 2 or 3 sittings. It wasn't that much, but that was like at night after I got home from work or something like that, you know, and I was in school. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It was a cool story. The Warthog was a crazy thing to drive, but I thought it was cool. Like, I just thought it was neat. It was something different that I wasn't used to playing.
I think it had solid mechanics, and like, if you did play the multiplayer, like, they were very smartly designed maps, I think, for like multiplayer arenas. Like, that was good design back in the day. Like, just like you said, like the GoldenEye maps, like very well routed and like interesting kind of setups.
Yeah, so like I missed a lot of the multiplayer stuff. I do remember visiting my friends when it came out, and they were all like, "Oh, we're gonna play," and like my buddy had a projector back then, and we were playing on it, and I got wrecked because these guys were playing constantly, and I'd only played the campaign. So that was like my Halo experience. I played 2 a little bit, never beat it. Just kind of like this one. It didn't really impress me much. I was just kind of like, meh. Like, it's more Halo. Now there's a sword. Like, now I have a sword I can run around with.
I love that.
But that was like to me what I got out of it. I was like, okay, whatever. And but the third one, I loved the third one, because the third one, it improved the graphics because it went from the Xbox to the Xbox 360. So everything was a little more polished, a little, smoother, better draw distance, all that stuff. But I think the big reason I liked that game so much is I played it on Legendary with my roommate in college when it came out. And that's literally all we did was play that. Like, he'd get off from work and we'd fire it up.
That's exactly what the appeal is of Halo, is finding that right group of friends or someone else to play with, and it's just it works so well.
But I never played the fourth one. I never played Halo Wars. I never played Halo 5. I did buy the Master Chief Collection for Xbox One, and my buddy came over. We tried playing it, and there was some bug in it, and we couldn't get out of like the third stage or something like that. Like, we got stuck in this like air thing, and we couldn't get out of it. So, but that was the last time I played it, and that was probably in 2014. That was probably in 2014. So it's been 6 years since I've touched a Halo game. I think Halo is a great game. I personally don't have the appeal for it. Like, as it doesn't.
I don't think it's the system seller it used to be. It will be fun, but I don't think it's a reason why people will rush out. At least not what they should.
I think it kind of lost that luster when Bungie got rid of it or whatever. You're like, Bungie makes Destiny now, and Destiny. I think that's why I like Destiny so much. And I think you talked about this last time. But yeah, I think it's just the big thing for me is that like Destiny feels like Halo felt to me then. Like, it just feels good. I don't know, there's something about it. It's got that tightness to it.
Well, speaking of not being a system launcher, it is not going to be a system launcher because there was also it got delayed.
Just got delayed to 2021, and the rumor, which we still don't know any information about launch dates for these new consoles, is that the Xbox Series X is coming out in November. That's what they're saying. All these other games are coming out in November, but Halo just got delayed due to basically the criticism it got after this launch video. So they said they're gonna take their time to tweak it, reminded everyone it's a work in progress, and
a work in progress that has a tight deadline. But the rest of these games we're about to quickly gloss over because we don't have much to
Yeah,
say.
for sure.
But they too aren't. I doubt are going to be launch games either. So I don't know what they're going to have ready for launch. But
I will say Fable being announced. I'm just gonna say that out. That was the last thing they showed on the showcase.
Yes,
I thought that would look cool because like I never played the Fable games, but I remember one of my friends in high school like passionately could not wait for Fable to release. He was so excited for it. And I could see it being a much better game now, just based on technology and all the wants over the years for what people want a Fable game to be. I think I tried playing it, but the map like screwed me up. I didn't like the way the navigation was like in the game for whatever reason. So I just kind of wandered around the first part of the game and was like, I'm done. I turned it off. But it does. I don't know. I did like the little teaser they gave for it. I thought it was funny. And it had some charm to it.
Fable has always been known for having a
so it definitely had some charm to the little teaser trailer they did for it. So,
but yeah, that game's probably a long ways off based off. It's just a teaser. So
but that's really it. I think the other games. So you have here Everwild.
Everwild is the next game from Rare. I know Rare is like a former shell of what I know from the N64 days, but I always am curious to know what they're working on. And that game seemed to have an interesting style at least, but I have no idea what the heck they're doing in it. It just seemed like people dancing and twirling to nature. I don't know.
I was kind of hoping like a banjo would come down and...
I was so hoping for a banjo at the beginning of that, and then I was like, oh yeah, I forgot they had this game that they were working on. Never mind.
Just wanted to pop up.
Now that is a console launcher system game right there. I would hop on Game Pass for that.
Yeah.
I wrote the Gunk on here just because I thought it made an interesting comparison in my mind. That was that like weird looking like space game where you're like sucking up goo and trying to beautify this planet. And then that title came up. I was like, the Gunk. Like, I'm sure it's a fine game, maybe. Apparently it's being made by, what was it, I think it was the SteamWorld Dig developers, which are pretty cool people. Yeah. So I'm sure it could have some solid mechanics. But when I see a game called The Gunk being like advertised as like a system seller for Xbox compared to what like PlayStation was showing, like Kina and the Bridge of the Spirits, which kind of has a similar concept of beautifying nature and like, but that game just looked like cinematic quality, super polished compared to this. I'm like, it's night and day looking at those two games side by side, even if that's an unfair comparison. Especially since Kina is also going to eventually come out on PC, so it's not really PlayStation exclusive, but PlayStation knew.
Hey, Horizon's out on PC now. I haven't seen any reviews about it, but I would love to try it, but I just don't want to pay full price for it right now, so I'm going to wait for a Steam sale. And then I'll get that game finally. Or I'll get it for $10 on a PS4 backwards compatibility.
And then the last game I listed on here just because it's called The Medium. It's one of the few games, kind of like how Ratchet & Clank was for PlayStation, that seems to be showcasing at least some reason for using new hardware, because it's a game that's trying to like simultaneously compute like two parallel worlds at the same time that you switch back and forth between.
I don't even remember that.
Which is an interesting concept, but
that's cool. I like that whole.
That's a reason why you would actually need upgraded hardware to do something crazy like that. That even though that could be probably done on like the DS or something, I don't know.
They did do that on the Super Nintendo. Light World, Dark World.
Yes.
And A Link Between Worlds on the 3DS. Lots of stuff.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, Xbox is.
But yeah. nothing really jumping out.
I think Halo will be delayed, and I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure Halo will be fun, but it'll definitely be one of those things that I'll probably only play if I can get somebody to play co-op with me, and not multiplayer, just co-op, like co-op story. I have so much fun playing those games that way. But so I guess one of the last things, we still have one more news story I want to talk about at the end that kind of just came out today. But we had a PlayStation State of Play. Was that last week? Or yeah, it was the 6th. It was August 6th.
I think it was last week as of this recording. Yeah.
So that opened up with, I thought it was a good opening. They opened with Crash 4 gameplay, which is cool.
They really pretty in depth with like talking about it.
Yeah, so they said it's, they're basing this off the third Crash that came out on, was that Warped?
That
that
Crash trilogy
was Warped on PS1, I think it was. I think it was PS1. So they're basing it off all the original games. It has
first 3 games.
Yeah, three games of the series. It has. They're basically ignoring the other ones that came out after that. So this game,
basically rebooting the franchise from that.
So it's basically the same thing as the other Crash games, but it looks like it has slightly tighter controls, better camera angles, better like just it looked smooth. Like everything looked really nice. I don't know if I'll play it because like I as much as I want to like Crash, and I remember playing it as a kid and enjoying it, replaying the remasters on Switch reminded me of why I don't like Crash.
It's a weird like love-hate relationship with that game.
Crash is great because he's like the anti-mascot in a way, like, and it was cool. Like, it's kind of that rebellious, like, I'm a teenager, Sony sort of thing if you grew up during that time period. So I think that's why it's always resonated as like Crash. But like, I've never looked at Crash as like Activision or whoever the hell makes it. It's always, to me, it's always been Sony. It's a Sony product. But even though this is going to be released on Xbox as well, but
it's like, it's not a bad game per se, it's not really
but good. I think it made sense for it to open the State of Play, in my opinion, based off of like the history of Crash and Sony. Like, it just makes sense. Like, you're gonna do a 4th Crash game, show it here, release on the PS5. Sure. I don't think I know it's coming out on Xbox. I don't think it's time exclusive, but regardless, that's how, if you want to advertise stuff, I think it makes sense to open it with that. It's a big game.
Yep.
So
I didn't cover every game on my list here that was done in the State of Play, because honestly,
it was long too, wasn't it? Wasn't it like another hour-long presentation? Yeah, I think
it was like 40 minutes, which is pretty long.
Yeah,
but they didn't really show anything new or super interesting. What I have listed here,
so they had no announcements on like. They did have PSVR. They had the Hitman. The Hitman game was going to be Hitman 1 and 2 in VR, I think. So that was like one thing they announced, but they said they weren't going to talk about it. It was all going to be software exclusive or software based, but like it was disappointing to like, again, we have a console coming out in 3 months, allegedly, and we have no price.
I'd like to know more about
no backwards compatibility other than like the rumor of it's going to be the top 100 play games on PSN. It's just weird. It's so weird. It's so weird. Like, usually by E3, which didn't happen this year, we have that information for a new console. We have the launch and the price.
Like, if it's coming out this year, then we should have that information by at least that
it just
point.
Seems really weird. I wouldn't be surprised if like stuff gets delayed more at this point, because the only thing we know about the PS5 is the specs and what it looks like. That's it. So did you want to talk about Braid? Since you've
I was just going to mention that was one of these unknown game that they announced, Braid Anniversary Edition. So it's basically the same game, just cleaned up a little more, and it has a developer commentary kind of included. If you've never played that game, that's a brilliant game. I'd highly recommend.
I watched that documentary about when they were making that Super Meat Boy and some other stuff, and
oh yeah, it was a Super Meat Boy. I think Fez and Braid.
It was on there, so
that was
cool. So I remember watching that and seeing that game, and it looked interesting for sure. I just never played it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Like the puzzles are just super well designed. It's really tight and fun, and like that ending is just so good. Such a good ending.
Unlike its sequel.
It just unlike the follow-up game they made. Yeah, The Witness. Oh god. That's a game I have a love-hate relationship with. I'm using that a lot
totally
today.
thought that was the game too. I was like, wasn't the Braid the one you said the ending sucked? And you were like, no.
Braid good. Witness.
Yeah.
What else did the State of Play show though? They talked more about the Pathless, which is a game made by Giant Squid, kind of former developers of that game company. Great developers, super cool. If you don't know what games they made, that game company did Flow, Flower, and Journey, not the band.
Not the arcade game.
And then Giant Squid, they did that Abzu game. I don't know if you heard of that one. That like underwater diving game with like the fish and whales, and you probably know it if you Google it. I've at least heard
What's it called?
or seen it. Abzu. A-B-Z-U.
I have it on Steam. Okay, because I knew when you said that, I was like, hold on, I've seen that game before. I think it's in my Steam library.
Yes.
I think I got it for free. I think one of our friends had a bunch of codes from Humble Bumble.
Journey is still my favorite, but Abzu was fun though. Yeah. So I was very curious to see what they do next, since they've done so little besides those 4 games I mentioned. So the Pathless is next, and it looks interesting, but at the same time, I'm not sure if I see the captivation of the gameplay loop. It seems very simple. I don't know. It's basically you're this like ninja person with a bird flowing through this landscape with checkpoints, and then sometimes you're stealth with these glowy monsters. I don't know. That was the gameplay footage they showed to me. So I'm not sure I quite get it yet, but at least they showed more of it, which we had barely seen anything. So that's why I wanted to mention. And then they ended the State of Play with a game no one cares about.
They ended the State of Play with a game that they've shown multiple times.
Yes. And no one cares still.
I'm sure people care, but I don't know. What did I say it looked like?
Whatever company is making this game is like, they are pushing this hard.
I said it looked like Destiny. It was like it was like a different type of Destiny, wasn't it? Isn't that if I remember correctly?
I think that's the comment.
I can't remember because they just showed.
I mean, it's very like fantasy swords, whatever, but like online multiplayer. What gets me is like the footage that they choose to show for this with like the enemy AI that just they look so boring, and so like they're just like slowly walk towards the characters. I'm like, this doesn't look interesting.
That's their big game, Patrick.
I don't want to fight that. I'm
just gonna walk around you.
Meanwhile, like the main character's going like swoosh, 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 bam, 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 killing you, and the enemy's just like, I'm
just gonna go this way to get away.
Yeah.
It's like me playing Paper Mario, just avoiding enemies. Like, I'm not doing this today. Run away.
But yeah, that was the State of Play. Nothing particularly earth-shattering. Even though, like you said, we still have no price on the PS5. We still have no idea of its backwards compatibility. No idea what Nintendo's doing. We are very much still in limbo and everything.
Very, very weird year for obvious reasons. But yeah, there's no hype. There's no Mother 3. There's no
Mother 3.
There's
could
no Mother
save
3.
2020.
There's no Metroid Prime Trilogy on Switch. There's no. There's no Mario 3D collection. Like, come on! I thought that was gonna be your. I thought at least. Listen.
And yet Nintendo is still like
teasing the
cryptically tweeting like Mario
shorts
in bathing suits that have never been previously rendered. And like, what
and they
is
keep
this?
saying like, you could use a little sunshine. No.
Yeah, it's like, stay cool, Mario. And like, no, like, just tell me it exists.
That's frustrating. Yeah. And then like, I thought, I mean, I guess they've already. It's been Mario heavy since they just did Paper Mario, but like,
yeah, this is Mario's 35th anniversary though. Be as Mario heavy as you want.
At minimum, I thought if they were gonna port another Wii U game, it would have been 3D World before they did Pikmin 3. Like Pikmin 3 wasn't even on the radar. Like for me, I was like, Pikmin 3 is not true. Like when they dropped random. It, I was like, really? And then I clicked on it, and sure enough, it's a Nintendo video, and I was like, wow, like.
The only reasoning I can think of that is maybe like they want Pikmin 4 next year, and so they're like, let's get Pikmin 3.
Well, I mean, it's just such a big install base now on the Switch. Like that's.
Yeah, we know people will buy it, and then they'll be like hyped for the next one.
So that pretty much covers all the game announcements and different events that have taken place since our last episode we did. So the other news, we already talked about Halo getting delayed until next year at a minimum. But today it kind of came out that Epic is having an epic battle right now with Apple and Google over the way their developer fees are being processed through the App Store and the Google Play Store, which has led to Fortnite being removed from said stores. Objection! Which is a pretty big deal.
Just then led to Epic suing Apple and Google
so,
now.
Like, I believe I just recently saw this. Like, I just saw this after, like this evening, even probably like an hour before we sat down. So I haven't read a bunch of stuff about it, but from what I do know from reading other stories related to like Steam versus Epic and Apple kind of doing the same thing, because there was always that whole thing of like Epic challenging Steam because they're charging the devs less for the Epic Game Store. People were then saying, well, Apple does it this way and nobody's complaining. But what it came down to, I guess, was that Apple charges like 30% for dev fees.
It is for, in this instance, it's for in-app purchases. Basically, they get a certain percent. I think Apple was 30% for. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure what Google was, but
I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm getting this confused with Steam, but I thought it was to have your app in their ecosystem. They take 30% of the sale.
I think that could also be true. I just, for the reason that Apple removed the game, it was specific to in-app purchases.
Yeah.
Because Fortnite was circumnavigating that by also allowing players to purchase in-game currency directly from them for 20% cheaper than what would have been on the Apple Store.
So that's the issue. Because like I was telling my wife about it when I read it earlier tonight. And I was like, they just cost Apple a lot of money. I was like, they are going to get, and then I saw that they're suing Apple. And I was like, Apple might countersue them for this because, like, if you think about that lost revenue, like, that's a lot of money that they lost. If there's a contract that's there that they, went around.
Technically, they're both losing a lot of money by this going on.
Yeah, now for sure. I mean,
it really depends which one wins.
It's crazy. I mean, it could change the way that App Store works, or it could not, and it's gonna just hurt Epic.
This could actually be a really big case depending which way the court sides. Because if it sides with Epic,
it even gets that far, though,
that
you never know if it even gets that far. They might settle or something, but
True.
But what's what's crazy to me is I was telling my wife about it, and I said, I used the example of Pokemon Go, like, because we buy coins in Pokemon Go every now and then to buy like incubators or something like that if we have a bunch of eggs to hatch, and like, it's like, I was telling her using that as an example of like, yeah, when you buy those coins, it goes to you get an Apple receipt, like. You were getting an Epic receipt, not getting an Apple receipt. So, and I was like, that's costing them that, 30% or whatever their publisher fee is. So that's a lot of money that they cost Apple. And if there's anything in a contract for that, Epic's got to be screwed if that's the case. Unless I'm sure somebody will find some loophole and they'll just start arguing back and forth forever. That's how most of these things go. And then there'll be some settlement. But
I'm not a lawyer, but I can't see how Epic is going to win this. Like, I feel like Apple and Google can set their terms for their store.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, even if you don't like it, then don't bring your app there. And it sucks. Like, it sucks for the people that have those ecosystems. But like, I have an iPhone, and I hate that I can't get an emulator. Like, unless I, put some custom Chinese cert on my phone to grab them off the web, but I don't want to do that. So that's on me. But, at the same time, it does suck, but it's their ecosystem, and whatever they want to do you're...
I don't know. I'm saying, like, it has a monopoly on the market. That's why there are, like, so many different platforms.
Well, I think the difference is that... If you're on Google, you can probably still get so they removed Fortnite. I think we said that. But you can still. I think you can still install it on a Google device. You just have to sideload it or like root your phone to do it. Apple's a little more difficult to do that. I know that I haven't jailbroken my iPhone in forever, so I don't know how easy it is anymore at this point. Because like.
But I do imagine it's easier on an Android
device. It's easier on the Android devices to root it and get what you want that way. But it'll definitely be interesting. We'll provide updates as we hear them.
I'm sure by the time we post this podcast, this story will have developed wildly beyond
I'm sure
what
tomorrow
we've
we'll start
talked
getting
about
more
here.
stuff. It'll be all over all the major outlets: IGN, Kotaku, Polygon, all those. Ars Technica will have it. Everyone will have it. We are not news people.
but the fact that it just broke out live as it was recording, like, I don't know, it was very interesting to see.
And it was good to have some fresh takes on it too, because like we hadn't talked about it really at all until we sat down to do this podcast. So I had not heard about this until we were getting ready to record, and I was like, I need to add this. And we both heard about it too, which is great, because it was just like, did you just hear about that? Yes, I did. So. But I think that pretty much covers it. We've got about an hour and a half, almost exactly. So it's not too bad.
Okay,
not too bad. We've gone longer. A lot of banter, a lot of off-topic stuff, but
definitely a long tangent on Xbox Game Pass.
But it's worth it. It's worth it. I'll give Xbox that.
Oh yeah.
So.
It's the one thing they're doing right.
So hopefully next episode we'll have some. Next gen pricing, maybe.
Next gen pricing. Hopefully, we'll have a Nintendo Direct before it goes a year, and
maybe Chad's take on Okami will change. We will see. I might go back to that, but I'm definitely gonna get into something, and then if I feel like it, maybe start streaming again. Maybe
I can convince Chad to stream Thousand Year Door once a week.
Since I beat Tokitori. That was like the last thing I streamed on YouTube, other than our Golf with Your Friends, which we played last night for a little bit. So that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
The Worms 3D level was pretty cool. Yeah. So
that was pretty cool.
All right, well, I guess that wraps it up. So until next time, everybody, take care.
Happy gaming, everyone.